Alright, this is probably going to be another or one of my last few tips about um, expressing yourself, right, in Cebuano. Just tips that can help you, um, I guess, become a more native or sound more like a native speaker or just a natural kind of speaker. It's really going to help embellish your speech. So the first one we have here is using figures of speech, right? Figures of speech, things like similes, metaphors, onomatopoeia, stuff like that, right? Irony, stuff like that. Figures of speech, right? Or using elements of literature, which is again like irony, alliteration, um, those things like that can help you embellish oration, or in other terms, it can help you, embellish or beautify your speech and how you present yourself, right? So on the list here, I have things like connotation, right? So things that relate, right? Connotation, similes, metaphors, allusions, alliteration, irony, motifs, hyperboles, and the list goes on and on and on, right? I didn't put it's not an exhaustive list. It's just a few words that are from figures of speech and elements of literature that can help you, um, I guess, sound more like a fluent speaker. Um, and please use those words, right? Because now that you learned so much vocabulary, I'm expecting the intermediate level to have this kind of knowledge to start expressing yourself. You know, you can start expressing yourself in sarcastic ways. You can start expressing yourself in witty ways, like very witty, very smart moves, that kind of stuff, right? One thing I am going to talk a lot about in this video is the translate. Oh, I misspelled it. But do not translate words for word, right? Don't translate word for words. Or don't translate things word for word. Whenever you're learning a new language, you never translate things word for word, because a translation, what is a translation? Translation is finding one word in one language that has the closest meaning to another word in another language, right? It doesn't mean the exact same thing. It just means it's a closer meaning to another language. Now, because Cebuano is a very different language from English, there are very much going to be a lot of variations to translations, and that's why English speakers, you need to get out of your heads that um, there's just more than one way to translate something, especially with a language like Cebuano, which has various focuses on its grammar. English is just not the way. It's just more rigid and structured, stuff like that, right? It's not to say that it's a bad language to express yourself in, but it lacks a lot of things that can't be translated in Cebuano directly. So that's why translations are just the rough estimates, or the closest thing that one word in one language can come close to in a translation to another language, right? It's not going to be the exact thing, but it's going to be the closest thing that they'll find in the dictionary or what have you. So again, do not translate word for word, because again, some words will have more than one meaning and some words will have no meaning at all. So that's just something to be wary about. And you should already know this by now, since you're going to be an advanced learner. All right, this is something I'm expecting of these people to understand, that if you're learning a language like this, you're expected to understand that already, because translating word for word will give you mistakes. All right. Anyway, enough of that rant. That's just one thing I really wanted to get into your head, was do not translate things word for word. Instead, my best advice for this was just to get a feel for the feel of the meaning of a sentence, right? Get the feel of the meaning, because once you get the feel of it, or some sort of understanding of it and how it works, you can manipulate that to help you express other things that are in similar situations. All right, so use that to your advantage. All right, so enough of my rant about translations. We're gonna move on with the tips. So the three main tips I told were about translations, not to translate word for word, and using the figures of speech and elements of literatures to help you embellish your oration or your conversations well, right? And if people don't understand these figures of speech or elements of literature, it's because they were probably never educated about it. But Cebuano is a language that also likes to use euphemisms, right? Humorous things and euphemisms. Um, and again, if you don't know these things, because I'm already speaking to you at an educated level, that's why this video is meant for those that are of a higher, I guess you have to have a higher kind of education to understand this. But euphemisms, Cebuano speakers love euphemisms a lot, especially when it's humorous euphemisms or funny irony. These example sentences below will help you clarify, right? So this first sentence is, ay, kagwapa ni mo, day. Kagwapa ni mo, day. Which you know what it means, kagwapa ni mo, day. Bisan ana ay mga bugas-bugas sa nawong kay dili tinuod, di ba? O kuan, kani ang usa ka ehemplo nga kuan nga irony. It's an example of irony. This sentence, kagwapa ni mo, day. Why is it an example of irony? Right? Because you're telling somebody they're beautiful, but they even if their face is fugly, right? Even if their face is fugly, like you're telling them that they're beautiful, but in reality or in deep down, deep down in your thoughts, it's like, oh no, you're the ugliest person ever, right? So that's why it's an example of irony. The next one, see, and then this is what Cebuano speakers like to play and joke around with. You'll understand that a lot more. The next one is, dakong tinuod nga bakak ang kanang gisulting gugma nimo, right? So this one you can tell, right? Because why would truth and lies contradict each other? They're in the same sentence, but they contradict each other. And this is being said in a sarcastic way. Dakong tinuod nga bakak ang kanang gisulting gugma nimo. So this person is just telling big truths of a lie about love, right? So this is an example of just I forgot what this one's an example of, but it's two contradicting things each other. Sarcasm, some sarcastic way that can be said about this. And finally, we have the last example of like a simile or a metaphor, something like that, right? It's explaining something in terms of comparing something, right? So sama sa usa ka balangaw ang kolor sa pako sa alibangbang, right? Sama sa usa ka panglangaw ang kolor sa pako sa alibangbang, right? So this is just beautifying what was being said about the butterfly, right? The butterfly's colors. It's beautiful on the wings because of this. Sama sa usa ka balangaw, all right? It's just beautifying something that we are given something to illustrate. It gives a better illustration, a better picture in our minds about someone describing something, and that's something that we can definitely use to our advantage and help us communicate even more.